Hey guys, it's Monday. Time for another edition of the Breakfast Club. Good tea. So, once again, I find myself motivated to touch on politics. Simply because there's so much going on that I just feel very bewildered about, even though I really shouldn't. Excuse me. As I already said in last week, it should be clear to anyone who's willing to put their biases aside and has a working brain that the dude simply is just, and didn't know what I mean by the dude, I'm talking about Trump. The guy just is not fit to lead. I'm not saying this because of the BS that people were saying before about, well, maybe he's got a mental handicap or something like that. No, it's just the guy doesn't have the chops it takes to lead. It sort of reminds me a little bit of an old G.I. Joe cartoon where, I don't know how old some of you guys watching this are. I'm talking like the old 80s G.I. Joe cartoons where at one point Cobra in some crazy ass scheme had found a way to hack into their systems and give out leadership to three characters who had no business leading, and that was their secret plan, to make these people in charge of operations in G.I. Joe, and then these guys would make bad decisions and it would F everything up. Of course, it's a cartoon. In the end, the good guys win. But I remember the lesson at the end was something, and I'm talking about the, now we know and no one's have to battle lesson. No, the actual end of the episode before they put that bit in. There was an interesting bit where the guy goes, when it comes to leadership, there's three types of people. It's never as simple as that, but this is a cartoon. Let's deal with it. It's basically three types of people. You got those with the ability to lead, but not the desire to lead. And I don't remember the names of all these people. The first two I don't remember. One of them was kind of this pacifist medic dude. The second, I completely forgot what his thing was. And the third was a Navy dude named Shipwreck. And General Hawk, I believe, was the one who was giving the lessons. I can't believe I remember some of these names, but here you go. I'm taking so long just to bring up a small little point, but whatever. He said, okay, for the medic dude, he said that, you represent the guy who has the ability to lead, but you don't have the desire. And the medic dude was like, yeah, definitely. I really want to go back to what I was doing. Like, leadership is not my thing. And he goes, and then you have those with the desire, but not the ability. And the other guy just kind of like lowered his head and was like, don't feel bad, son. Not everybody's cut out to be a leader. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. And then he points to Shipwreck. As for Shipwreck, he has neither the desire nor the ability. And I remember laughing at that as a kid. But getting older and seeing certain people's leadership styles, whether it be at school or some of the jobs I've had, looking at management styles and looking at government, I'm pretty sure you can find people who you could attribute those three particular stereotypes to. Now, I'm sure some people might argue that as far as Trump goes, he might be the second camp. He has a desire to lead, but not the ability he wants. I think he's the third, because I don't really think he's someone who really has a desire to lead, per se. He just has a desire to look like he's top dog. There's a difference. If you have a desire to lead, you have a vision. You have a certain direction that you think that people or things or whatever it is that you're trying to lead should go into. Like, you have this vision of, let's say you're running a company. I envision my company doing X, Y, and Z. I want us to be the leader at, we're going to be the best at making e-cig juices. We're going to make the most creative ones. I have this vision of us being known as some of the best ones, but also some of the most creative. And, people are going to trust us to make these creative blends and custom stuff, and we're going to be considered top of the industry for being some of the most unique. And then you make that unique vision, and your company has that style because that's that vision you had. We can even look at this for video games, for instance. The guy who makes who used to make the Metal Gear series for Konami, Kojima, he had a unique vision for his games. And because of that particular vision, you can tell a Kojima game. You get that sense of, yeah, the weird kind of convoluted storytelling, the way the characters act or whatever. This is a Kojima game. they have a vision, and then they attract people with that vision, and they work on it, and they go to that particular direction. And they usually are competent at bringing people there. I don't get that from Trump. I don't get a unique vision. I just get this whole thing of, I'm the best. You should do what I say because I'm in charge. And that's it. This sense of entitlement, or the sense of, like, just some of the things he says to validate himself. You know, even back in the past, stupid things like, oh, my president, when I became president, I had the most ratings out of anyone else who got inaugurated. Who the fuck cares? What does that have to do with leading a country? I got more ratings than your movies ever did. Was arguing with Schwarzenegger. Who gives a fuck about ratings? You're not on a TV show. You're the leader of the most fucking powerful country in the world. Act like it. And he's not. Now, I don't really want to make this all just on his leadership style, because then I'll be here all day. I should say a lack of leadership style. Rather, I'm bringing that up to these points up to bring up another point. It should be obvious to, and it is obvious to people who put their biases aside, that this is the wrong guy to put in charge. Even his own party didn't want him there. They didn't want him to get the presidential nomination, even during the election, because they realized that he was just the wrong guy for the job. Clearly the wrong guy for the job. There's plenty who still don't want him up there, and they're beginning to make their opinions known. It's like, okay, this guy's doing too much damage. We're willing to go along with it because as long as he was in charge, our political party was running things. But holy shit, is he fucking shit up? He's making us look like idiots. Other conservatives have been coming out saying, this is, I don't know what the fuck. Even people who voted for him, some of them are finally going, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But yet there are still people who are clinging to him. I'm not too sure why. I mean, maybe it's because of trying to hold on to the status quo, because, you know, they don't want to show weakness. You know, as long as I'm going to back them no matter what, because you don't want to, if we show that we're against them, then it's going to weaken our brand, it's going to weaken our party, and then it's like we're admitting fault, and then the Democrats are going to take over. And the Democrats is another can of worms altogether, but so there's that. And then there could also be the fact that, you know, some people just honestly do think that he is doing a good job. They're buying into his bullshit. And those people, I really don't know how the hell you're going to be able to reach anyone that fucking delusional. It's like, at that point, it's only up to them to wake up, you know. You sort of like dealing with, you know, say an alcoholic or whatever, or somebody in a bad situation who refuses to admit that they're in it. There's only so much you can say. They themselves have to realize it or admit to themselves that that's what's going on before they can actually be any, you know, acknowledgement of any real change. But it's a sad state of affairs, because this is the sort of thing that leads to some disastrous things to happen. When you obviously see that the guy in charge doesn't belong there, or the situation that's going on is just not tenable. It's not beneficial to all parties involved, even those who are supposedly on the side of it. They're like, this, it should be obvious it's disastrous, but they'll go along with it anyway, either out of blind loyalty, or because they just don't know what else to do, or they're terrified of the other side taking over, whatever. But it always ends in ruin for anybody involved. I can think of, for instance, the French Revolution, which I personally think is something that a lot of people should go back and study. Especially these days. These days, I really think that people should go back and see what the fuck happened. Because it started with good intentions, supposedly. I mean, you had, you know, the nobility of, you know, getting away with murder. Like, you know, the peasants were basically being oppressed, lack of food. Granted, there were a variety of factors why shit was going downhill in France. It wasn't as cut and dry as blame the nobles, but yeah, by and large, they weren't exactly doing much to help most of the population, and they had enough. So they revolted. They tried to form people's governments, and then they started executing motherfuckers, and then they started executing a lot of motherfuckers. And then once Robespierre got into things, let's put it this way. When after you tried to get rid of a monarchy, and in the end you were going to go, okay, we're going to start a republic for the people. And at the end of that movement, you end up with somebody who's declaring themselves emperor. You fucked up. You fucked up big time. When you have somebody who claims to be for the people and he's going to be making things better for everyone, and yet he's killing off motherfuckers left and right because, he feels that they're a threat to his power, talking about Robespierre here, you got a problem. And by the way, researching that part, that's the point I wanted to get into. Researching that part, when you see the whole reign of terror situation, how many people were getting shoved into the guillotines every day, heads getting lopped off, there had to be people going, what the fuck's going on? But at the same time, there were probably a whole lot of people going, yeah, vive la revolution. You gotta wonder what was going on in these people. Like, the people who were like gung-ho for this, like, despite the fact that this is obviously a terrible fucking situation and that guy seriously should not be in charge, he's killing off, it's obvious he's killing people off because he don't like them, because he feels they're in his way. But I bet you he still had his supporters. It took a hell of a lot to finally get people, okay, we had enough, motherfucker, you gotta go. You're going into the same machine you shoved everybody else in. But by then, look how many people died. Look what the revolution had devolved into. The reputation it received. And also to the point where other countries now were getting involved, going, shit, that we need to keep that under control. We need to, like, go to organs, we gotta put our own puppet leader in there. Something's gotta happen. I can't help thinking about that when I think about the current situation. Now, I don't necessarily think that we're in the exact same situation. It's not like Trump is sending people into, like, to get shot in front of a firing squad every day or something like that. But what I mean is, it's like, seriously, it's still not necessarily a good situation that we're in. The reputation that America's beginning to get, the really bad decisions he's been making, the embarrassment that he has become, to the leadership that this country is supposed to represent. No matter what your political persuasion, if you're going to be honest, you have to look at this and go, this looks like a fucking circus. And yet there are people who still, they're supporting him completely. Again, it could be blind loyalty, or it could be we don't want to look weak in front of everyone else and we can't let the other side come in. And it could also just simply be straight up ignorance. There are a lot of people who just don't seem to understand what it means to be a leader on the world stage. The type of decorum you're supposed to have, the knowledge you're supposed to have, how you're supposed to carry yourself and conduct yourself. We just don't see it here. I mean, people talk about, how rude or kind of like how base Americans are supposedly supposed to act. But if you actually look at, how America has, what it expected out of its leaders over the years, I guess before the whole machismo thing really started jumping into things, there's a certain level of elegance that you kind of expected from, leaders of this country. No matter what you may think of them, there was at least a certain level of class you expected, from those in government. But just a certain level of decorum. Even in, like, the more machismo years, it was still a way they carried themselves. It's just not present here. This is just ridiculous. I mean, hell, again, say what you want about Obama, and I had my own criticisms, but at least the guy knew what it meant to be a leader of the world stage. You may disagree with everything else, but the guy at least knew what it meant to be, in a leadership position in the United States of America. I honestly think at this point, if you are looking at what's going on right now with the executive branch, and you're thinking to yourself, that is a good job, you are either damn good at deluding yourself, or really terrified of the other side winning, or you are incredibly ignorant of what's supposed to be happening in politics. This is not a good job. It's just not. I'm not even saying this as like somebody who's against. I mean, I have my own political stripe. I'm not going to lie. Yes, I lean a bit toward the left. But I'm just saying this, just forget politics. Just looking at this. This is fucking disastrous. Even Bush Jr. did a better job than this. And that guy definitely wasn't perfect. There were definitely problems with him, but shit, I'd take him over this. I can't really say I have too much of a horse in this race, to be honest. A lot of this crap that I'm seeing right here, if I'm going to be honest, it's not really all that surprising. This is a result of what happens when you do things that end up making people uninformed of how their country, completely ignorant of civics, don't understand how the country works, doesn't understand the politics of things. When you twist news and distort information just to suit your own bottom line, when you do things like this is sort of what you end up with. So I'm not really all that surprised, but it's still rather disheartening to see, especially as somebody who actually still believes in what this country was supposed to represent, the ideals that it's supposed to uphold. The so-called great experiment, I really think that people in this country take that for granted. I don't think they fully understand how great that experiment is, what it actually meant when it happened, how it influenced other groups of people, other nations, why leaders can get away with saying that this country is a shining beacon to the rest of the world. I mean, I know people kind of look at that line cynically now, but if you honestly, really, truly understand the ideals that this country is supposed to uphold, then you can see how if we hadn't squandered the gift that this country is, then saying that we be a beacon to the rest of the world, that would actually mean something. You can't really say that now. Not with this current administration, and not with the way politics are being run in this country. Hell, not even with the circus that is the whole interplay between media and politics and business and culture. And it's gotten to circus-like levels of absurdity. I guess I don't really have, I don't know any way to end this off with, like, again, another positive note or trying to come up with some sort of point. I'm just saying this as somebody observing this, like, this is just absolutely ridiculous, and I'm not really sure what it's going to take to get people to finally go, whoa, we've had enough of this. I mean, I know the elections are coming up, and that's when people are going to say, our voices will be heard then, but the propaganda machine's already spinning for that. So, yeah, I just don't know. We can hope that it will end up good, and that we might end up with some, semblance of sanity, no matter who happens to be running the show after the elections or, elections in Congress are held. But I have to admit, I'm not holding my breath. Sorry. Take care, people.